I've never been a huge fan of the term backswing, but we're going to use that term in this video because it's really the agreed upon term for the part of the swing we're going to talk about. I'll explain why I don't like that term later, but we're specifically going to talk about the timing between that early part of the swing and what I'll call the drive phase, where the trunk really starts to unwind and fire that racket forward. Now, this timing window is actually larger than you might think. What we're looking at here are two players that perform this timing on opposite ends of the spectrum. On the left, we have Yoshihito Nishioka, and he rolls his racket backwards a lot before dragging it forward with the trunk. And on the right, we have Rafael Nadal, who's on the opposite end of the spectrum, where he drags it and rolls it while he's dragging it forward. So let's look at two checkpoints on each player. We're going to look at, obviously, their forearm and when their racket rolls backwards. And we're also going to look at this off shoulder blade, because that's what tells you when the player has really engaged their trunk and started yanking that racket forward using the strong muscles in the core. So let's look at the forearms first. We're going to watch Rafa's forearm. We're going to watch Nishioka's forearm. And as we play this, so look at the difference. Now, both the off shoulders are still wound. This off shoulder blade is still wound up. This off shoulder blade is still wound up. But Nishioka has wound his forearm all the way back to here, whereas Rafa's forearm is basically still in the same position it started. This is the preparation phase of the swing. The forward swing hasn't started yet. Trunk is still wound up. Off shoulder is still wound up. And yet Yoshihito Nishioka, his forearm is winding back here, whereas if we look at Rafa, he's just preparing that hand to the height that he wants. So now the next thing is these off shoulders are going to unwind. That's what engages the trunk and fires that racket forward with the forward swing. That's the key to the compact modern forehand, is this trunk engagement here. And I want you to notice when we watch Rafa's forearm and Yoshihito Nishioka's forearm, with Rafa, during this part of the swing is when the forearm does its rolling back. Whereas with Yoshihito Nishioka, yeah, it rolls back a little bit more, but it's mostly finished rolling back by the time he pulls out. But critically, not totally. So here's the moment here where the shoulder unwinds and the trunk rotation starts. And you'll notice Nishioka has not finished rolling back, paused, and then started the trunk rotation. And that's the end of the timing window. So you can do it like Rafa, where you roll it while you pull it. That guarantees you get a good stretch. And if you're going to do it like Nishioka, you have to make sure it's still rolling while you pull with the trunk. That's the key here. So if we look at the way Yoshihito Nishioka does this, when this off shoulder pulls out, when that trunk rotation starts, when the core starts dragging the racket this way, it's still rolling back, which is why we still get a dynamic stretch at the forearm here. And then, of course, both have a very similar lag position here because both forearms are stretched here, and they come through contact similarly, not identically, but similarly. The best way to figure out which topspin motion works for you is this drill. You drop the ball right around the service line, and you drop it in such a way that it bounces up just below your knees. The reason this works is this really low bounce is quite tricky to get up and down over the net, and it is going to force you to use topspin. If your motion's not working well, you're going to shank the ball all over the place, you'll hit into the net, you'll hit long, and you might be like, oh, that sounds really frustrating, but it's going to give you really good feedback. And so you're going to very quickly be able to adjust. Your brain is going to work that forearm into whatever topspin motion works for you. And I got two tips for you on top of that. First, you need this double bend in your prep position. A bend at the hips, a bend at the knees. If either one of those is straight on a low forehand, you're going to have a bad time. And the second is, keep that trunk engaged, stay nice and balanced. Over rotation is going to make this almost impossible. Alexa and I both tend towards the Rafael Nadal style roll it on the way forward rhythm, but we have clients on both ends of the spectrum. I have some clients that tell me, man, it feels so bad to roll it and then pull it. It just doesn't feel right. And then I have other clients who, until they rolled it a little more before pulling it, could never quite get the topspin to work. So it's our job as coaches to work with you, with your natural tendencies, rather than trying to force you into one style or another, and that's what we aim to do here. The reason I lean away from the term backswing is that it's hard to describe what Rafa is doing during preparation as a swing. there's not really any dynamic action until the forward swing. Now, with Yoshihito Nishioka, you could call that early backwards roll of the forearm a backswing, but even that is not explosive. He's not like throwing the racket tip back as hard as he can the way he's driving with his trunk. And so that's why I think the term swing in backswing confuses the issue. First, because it doesn't really describe the Rafael Nadal rhythm at all. And second, because people who feel naturally inclined towards the Nishioka rhythm might throw their hand backwards with a little too much velocity and either end up hurting themselves or, at best, having a very uncontrolled swing. And I've seen this kind of jerky back and then front swing in some players who I think are trying to do a backswing, not realizing that the point of the forearm rolling back during the preparation phase is just to guide it into that position to get that nice natural stretch when you fire the trunk, which is what really powers the stroke.